The sheer number of federal public servants who are working from home, almost 50% of the 33,000 staff within Services Australia have an approved working from home arrangement. Now, somehow, roughly 42% of staff in service delivery roles, so these are customer facing, you'd assume, do so working from home for part of the week. And what's particularly galling is that it's very few of the junior or lower paid employees, those earning $70,000 or under, who are working from home. Instead, it's a lot of the big earners, 1,500 plus public servants earning around $168,000, so 3 times the median Australian salary. Well, they're earning that money working from home 3 or more days a week.
Stick around, because this is only the beginning. Quick favour, if you are enjoying this, hit that subscribe button. Over 96% of viewers have not yet. Please do. It is free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Thank you. Now back to the show.
Joining me now, Sky's political editor Andrew Clennell, and a fair journalist. I'll give you that. You can claim that mantle, Andrew. You are tough on both sides and you call it pretty straight, even if they don't like it. I'll get into Labor's National Conference in a moment, but those stats, those working from home stats, I just can't fathom how you do your job as a federal public servant in that sort of role, in a customer-facing role, if you're working from home.
Well, of course, a lot of these people are 2 or 3 days, as you say, not the 5 days working from home. But you would expect if it's service delivery, as you say, you'd have to be in the office of facing people the entire time. So there needs to be a bigger drill down on that. But I can't see a politician taking it on after Jane Hume at the last election, when it was extrapolated to be a kind of a policy that would affect everyone. Labor really weaponised that. So it's going to be a tough one for the Libs to ever take on again, I think. Unless they're in government, then you can sort of approach these things.
You know, it was interesting when I was in the UK, they were telling me that 90% of people are back at work in the UK. And I mean, they obviously suffered the lockdowns that we did around the country. And in the Victorian state election, Jacinta Allen has legislated the right to work from home, not just for public servants, but for private sector employees. So she's likely to have polling that says this is a vote winner, even if it's making employers basically take their businesses out of Victoria.
If you give people anything on the IR front, history shows it's very difficult to rake it back. Interesting for the POMs, though. I mean, they've got terrible train services and the like. They're all struggling through that, you know. I mean, in a lot of capital cities of Australia, it's a lot easier to get to work than England.
Let's go to that poll from Newgate today, the mood of the nation. It dropped into the Australia, the Savo. It reads as a tale of woe. Almost 70% of Australians feel the country's headed in the wrong direction. 6 in 10 believe immigration's way too high. Of course, that bodes well for One Nation. Also telling too, Labor's only 1 point ahead of One Nation when it comes to cost of living, and that's still by and away the number one issue for people, isn't it?
What a shocking figure for the coalition. I mean, I know it's really, really bad for Labor as well, Peter. Don't get me wrong, but Angus Taylor, he's on about cost of living. He's on about immigration every day. Why can't he get a lift out of this? Why is he getting cleaned up by Pauline every day? I mean, she's the one leading the 7 and 9 newses every second night. She's the one who's really got that rock star feel. And that's what Angus Taylor's really battling against. He can't get his message out. He's got the policies that address that polling, and no one's listening to him. That's the problem he's got at the moment. I mean, even, you know, a lot of the start of this show, you've spoken about Pauline. But we all are. I did on my show. You know, the 6 p.m. news does she's the one providing the headlines and the news. And, yeah, maybe some of it is cynical. Maybe some of it is her and James Ashby, you know, saying we can come out and make some outlandish statements and we'll get more and more publicity and drum it up, get her front and centre. It's working. The only way that vote's going to be reduced is when people out there, including people watching this show, some of whom email me and say give One Nation a go because they're different, realise that she's a politician just like Anthony Albanese and Angus Taylor are. Nothing more and nothing less, to be held to the same standards, and if ever in government, to have the same issues to grapple with, which are a lot simpler than a bunch of slogans to deal with. So, like that
yeah, but let me jump in here.
That is where things need to come to. Otherwise, she is going to get 30% at the federal election. If people take a view that she's somehow above politics, then she's going to go really well.
Let me jump in there.
Let us start with Services Australia, an organisation with 33,000 staff where roughly half have approved arrangements to work from home. Sounds fair until you look closer. Only about 42% of customer-facing staff, the ones actually answering your calls, get that same privilege. The lower-paid workers, under $70,000, are almost never on the list, but the senior staff, earning nearly 3 times the median wage, are working from home more than anyone. It's like a restaurant where the chefs stay home and the dishwashers get called in every single shift. Now, speaking of things staying home while others carry the load, let us talk about the Coalition's messaging problem, because this next part explains everything. Angus Taylor keeps hitting the right notes. Cost of living, immigration, the issues polling says voters actually care about. But here's the twist. He's being outshone nightly by Pauline Hanson, who appears on commercial television so often it's practically a segment slot. Andrew Clennell and Peta Credlin put it bluntly. Taylor is getting cleaned up by Pauline every single day. Why? Because television is not a debate club, it's a ratings contest, and controversy simply performs better.
Yeah, because that was the whole point of my editorial. Those on the left, the ABC and others, The Guardian, they go after her thinking that somehow they can halt her rise. I argue they don't. They actually just kick her in to better and better numbers. A lot of the commercial networks, you know, they're always going to run the government. It's got the biggest megaphone, and they run a counter to the government. So the counter to the government is usually one individual. Traditionally, obviously, it's been the opposition. But that's now double-headed. It's either Angus Taylor or Pauline Hanson. And when the editors are sitting down at night, and you know what it's like, they're putting together the packages, they're looking for colour and movement. There's a lot more colour and movement, even if Angus is saying all the right things, if he's doing everything that every other opposition leader's done in the past, there's more colour and movement on the One Nation side of things, and people are tuning in, so they put One Nation in the package. It happens here, it happens everywhere.
Minute-by-minute ratings at Channel 9 and 7. They're saying if we do a political story, I used to see the state political reporter down at Channel 9 at State Parliament, Macquarie Street 10 years ago. I said, mate, why are you doing stories every night on power bills or speed cameras? He said, because it rates. You know, the data's so good that they basically figure it out that way. So they're obviously seeing that a story on One Nation rates, just like the news websites see that they get clicks. And Angus Taylor just needs to find a way to rate. It's as simple as that, because if he doesn't, he's dead meat. And so is potentially the Liberal Party.
He's working. Like, I look at the effort out there. I look at what he's doing, on what he's posting. I look at where he's going. He's saying everything that he should be saying. The problem is the cut-through. You're right, the cut-through's not there. I just want to quickly get to the ALP National Conference. It kicks off this Thursday. I know you'll be there. We'll watch it closely. It's the 50th Labor Conference, 3,000 attendees there in the room. We know, of course, the platform's binding, the final platform on all Labor MPs. One of the most contentious issues is pushed by the left and former Cabinet Minister Ed Husic and others, opposed by former Resources Minister, I should say here, Labor member now, Ferguson. There is a push for a tax on gas. The PM says, I've ruled that out, but he's ruled out a lot before, hasn't he? Well, what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, I don't think it's going to happen. But I think that if there's an area in the conference debate where we'll get a bit of biffo, which we always look for as observers and journalists, this will be the area. This and maybe a bit of artificial intelligence and maybe a bit of Israel. But this is the one, because you've got Husic, who, the fallen former cabinet minister there, drumming it up, and several other unions. And, you know, he was sitting with the AWU and they were drumming it up yesterday. The position of the government is very much in the current environment when, you know, we're struggling for gas supply. This isn't the time, and it makes a lot of sense. And Albanese was quite cranky when asked about this on Saturday at a press conference after an Australian Financial Review story which suggested the draft platform, which talked about a bigger share from resources companies, meant a gas tax. He said the Fin Review's taken 2 and 2 and made 87. So you could see how cross he was at the story. So as far as he's concerned, and let's face it, he has pretty tight control over these things, as we saw in Brisbane 3 years ago. There might be a crack at this, but it's not going to get up. And, he's got the numbers, but it will cause a bit of noise. And it will lead, I suspect, to people like Jim Chalmers down the trail advocating for it again within government. But no, it'll probably get defeated. It's really how much noise it generates and how much more it pushes along that debate. The government Albanese has no intention of introducing any such thing at the moment.
And if you think that pressure is only hitting the coalition, wait until you hear what is happening inside Labor. A new Solgate poll shows 70% of Australians believe the country is headed in the wrong direction. And on cost of living, One Nation is now basically neck and neck with Labor. That kind of number does not just shake up opposition parties, it terrifies governing ones. Which brings us to the Labor National Conference. 3,000 delegates, one binding platform, and a gas tax proposal that has turned into a genuine internal brawl. The left faction and unions want it. Albanese has already ruled it out, citing supply concerns. Expect fireworks, expect headlines, but do not expect the tax to actually pass. So here's where it all connects. Bureaucratic privilege, media-driven populism, and internal party warfare are not three separate stories anymore. They are one single ecosystem. Visibility, credibility, and policy alignment are now the currency of political survival. And the moment any of them slip, the whole structure wobbles. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.